Alright guys, today we're going to talk about preparing for dreadlocks. If you've seen my video considering starting dreadlocks, and you've decided that your answer is yes, I want dreadlocks, this is your next port of call. How to prepare. If you've not seen that yet, I'll post a link down here for the guys on mobiles, and a link that you can click here in a little box for you guys who are watching on a computer. Okay, first thing you've got to do is decide on your method. Three most popular methods being natural, which is also being called neglect or freeform. That's a pretty simple method. You just leave the hair alone completely. Hair that is left alone, left to its own devices, without conditioner and without being brushed, will form dreadlocks. The hair still has to be kept clean. Greasy hairs will just slip past each other rather than not. So you keep the hair clean, you keep it growing, you don't condition it, you don't brush it. That's going to form dreadlocks. How long it's going to take depends entirely on your hair type and the length. But the other two most popular methods are backcomb and twist and rip. If you'd like to know more about the individual methods, you can find my video, The Different Methods for Starting Dreadlocks. I'll also post that down here, or you can click here. But basically today we're just going to talk about how to get your hair ready and get you prepared for starting your dreads. Okay, to get dreads going you're going to need a certain length of hair. Now some places are going to recommend at least having 4 inches of hair. I personally would recommend having at least 6 inches of hair. The length of hair required is because when you start your dreads with your backcomb or your twist and rip, so you backcomb your knots in or you twist and rip your knots in, the longer your hair, the more knots you're going to be able to get in initially. And the more knots you have, the less likely that it's just going to wash straight out. So less than 6 inches of hair, you're not going to be able to get that many knots, and it's going to be more likely to fall out. So the longer the better, but I would personally recommend having at least 6 inches of hair. With neglect, freeform, you just let your hair go, it doesn't matter, but for twist and rip and backcomb you're going to need that length just to get them started. Your dreadlocks are also going to shrink over time, so if you have hair down to your chest, normally your dreadlocks could be half that length, because dreadlocks tighten and shrink up. I have a video on shrinkage, which you'll also find down here. That's a later step to know, but if you're interested in shrinkage, it's info down here. So if you're planning on long dreads, you're going to need really long hair. But once you've got at least your 6 inches and you're ready to go, well then it's time to start preparing your hair to take dreadlocks. I recommend as early as possible to stop conditioning your hair. Keep it clean, but no conditioner. Conditioner is going to make it soft, and the hairs will be slipping past each other and less likely to not. Conditioner is kind of like anti-dreadlocks. So cut out the conditioner and swap to your new residue-free shampoo. You're going to want to wash dreadlocks with a residue-free shampoo because normal shampoos will leave residue. Now residue will get stuck behind in dreadlocks. It will stay in there. When you're washing your dreads, it kind of acts like a filter and residue will stay stuck inside, and that is not good. Dirt will get stuck to it and it'll stay inside, and it's just not what you want. It'll slow down the locking. Residue can be removed, and you'll find information all about that on lazydreads.com. But you want to pick up your residue-free shampoo and start using it as soon as possible. And you're also going to want to relax into your new washing regime. Now, dreadlocks don't need to be washed as often as normal hair. So you may be washing your normal hair once every day, once every 2 days. I really don't know how often you wash your hair. But dreadlocks can be washed a little bit less often. I personally wash my own dreadlock every 2 to 3 days. Normally every 3 days during winter and every 2 days during summer. Some people like to wash their dreadlocks once a week. This is made possible because the more often you wash your hair, the more often the oils are going to get stripped away. So the higher quantity of oils your scalp has to produce to keep it all balanced. So if you go from washing your hair once a day to washing your hair once a week, you're going to find your hair gets really greasy really fast because your scalp is going to continue to produce the oils that it needed when you were washing it every day. But if you relax into it, so wash every 1 day, wash every 2 days, wash every 3 days, slowly your scalp is going to get used to it and you'll be fine. Now you're going to want to do this before you get your dreadlocks because dreadlocks are quite irritating at the start. It's something new, it's different, it takes a little bit of time to get used to, and you really don't want to also have to be getting used to your new washing regime at the same time, and you definitely don't want your hair to be any oilier than it has to be. Greasy hair, slip past each other, not good for dreadlocks. Just a quick note, you are going to want to keep brushing your hair. Now, you might think this is sort of counterintuitive to starting dreadlocks, but while you're preparing for dreadlocks, you just want them to be clean, non-conditioned, but you're still going to want them to be brushed. Because otherwise they might start forming natural dreads before you've got to the point where you're ready to start your twist and rip or backcomb. and this will make it a lot harder to section your hair off if you're going to be sectioning your hair. So if you want to decide where your dreadlocks are going to be, that'll require sectioning, and if it's already started to knot together, it's going to be a lot more difficult. Especially if you're going to backcomb the hair, because that requires backcombing, and if it's already knotted, then it's going to be, you know, trying to backcomb through knots that are already there. Now you need to get yourself ready for starting dreadlocks. Depending on how much hair you have and how long it is, the process for starting dreadlocks can take many hours. Anywhere between 4 to 7, even more if you're completely new to it and you're doing it yourself, less if you have lots of friends. It's going to be a tiring day. You may want to split it up into a couple of evenings or a couple of days. You're going to have your hair pretty much pulled for all those hours straight, so I recommend some painkillers for headaches, because it's going to be quite annoying at the start and your scalp will be left quite sore from all the pulling and backcombing or twist and rip. The pain goes away, it's only short term. You won't be pulling on your scalp like that ever again if you keep the dreads, but it's something to be aware of. You're also going to want to stock up on supplies. You don't want to have to run to the store to get more drink or food with your hair part dreaded and sticking up, because young dreadlocks, especially backcomb dreads, are going to stick up a bit like Citro Bob's hair. I think the best way to do it is get some friends round, be faster with friends, and also they can do the back of your hair, whereas you'll find it quite hard to backcomb or twist and rip accurately the back of your head. So get a friend or two around, get a TV box set or some movies and stick it on so you have something to watch while they play with your hair, and just make an afternoon of it. Then you also have to be prepared for the looks you're going to get. I've mentioned before, and you probably already know, that dreadlocks are a love or hate thing. Some people are going to love them and want to touch them. Lots of people are going to be more like, what have you done to your hair? Especially when they're young, because when they're young they're going to look messy and they're going to look loose, so you're going to get some looks. You have to be prepared, because dreadlocks kind of go through a process. You know, when you first backcombed and they're tight, or you first twist and ripped and they're tight, and they'll look roughly like dreads. I mean, if they're really tightly backcombed, they're going to stick up, but they'll look like dreads, even though they're just lumps of loosely knotted hair in sections. Then when you start washing them, they're going to get loose and messy. Don't be scared. This is normal. What you've created with the twist and rip or the backcomb, those aren't the dreadlocks. Those are just the knotted clumps that are going to eventually form into dreadlocks. You're just holding the sections together. So they're going to go from neat-ish from the started, and then they're going to get messy after they start to get washed, and then after a few months, how many months is hard to say, depends person to person, but then they're going to get tighter and tighter and tighter until they're matured, and then you don't have anything else to worry about. That's further down the line. So a quick checklist for things that I would recommend you have ready for when you're preparing your dreads and getting them started. Your residue-free shampoo, a microfiber towel. Now, microfiber towel is a towel that has little tiny fibers, and it isn't an old big fluffy towel, because you don't want bits of towel pulling off and flaking off into your hair, because they'll get stuck in there, and you don't really want that. A hair dryer. For washing and drying dreadlocks, I think a hair dryer is a necessity. Dreadlocks can take a long time to dry unless you live in a really warm place and have time to just sit out with them. So if you've seen my washing and drying video, you'll see that there's a lot of squeezing and shaking involved. I'll put a link down for the washing and drying down here, like everything else. But it's also topped off with a hair dryer. So if you don't have a hair dryer, I recommend you get one, preferably a good one. Another thing that I also recommend you have for young dreads that's really going to help you out is possibly a tam. Wool is best. Tam is the name for the big hat that you often see people with dreadlocks wearing. Sort of a big beanie, but if you search tam, you'll come up with more specific results rather than just looking at big beanie. And when you have young messy dreads, you can use it to hide them. And the wool, if it's made out of wool, will rub against the loose hairs and cause them to get frizzy and help you out with some of those loose hairs there. Headbands are also good. I always have a headband on my wrist like this, and then whenever I want to, I can just put it around and pull the dreads out of my face. Especially when you have young dreads and have lots of loose hair, you don't want the loose hair falling in your face. You might be able to keep the dreadlocks away, but having a headband allows you to scoop those loose hairs away too. Some optional things depending on which method you're going for. A backcomb brush. If you're going to do backcombing, you're going to want a proper brush for it. A normal hairbrush or a plastic comb, that's not going to be up to the job. You can find on eBay, Amazon, dreadlock stores normally have a really fine metal tooth comb, but basically it's the same brush that you can get from a pet store for, I think, flea combing dogs. I know. But it's a good, solid, strong brush that will stand up to the hammer of intense backcombing of your whole head. Bicarbonate of soda or baking soda is also another good one to have. If you don't have your residue-free shampoo yet, you can use that to make a paste with some water and wash your hair with that. And it's also good to have around for when you're ready to do your first bicarb deep clean for soaking the dreadlocks. Sea salt, I'd have some sea salt around. You can make a sea salt spray. It will help in the same way that the wool rubbing does. Make the loose hairs get drier and more likely to knot. Lemon juice does the same job. And essential oils. You may have seen on my channel I have a video about making a perfume for dreadlocks. Put a link for it down here. The dreadlock scented mist. And it's basically just a mixture of fresh water and essential oil of your choice. Different essential oils will do different things, and I explain them in the video, but you can use it to make your dreadlocks smell nice, which is a little bit reassuring when you have young dreads and people will want to touch them and smell them, because people will think dreadlocks are dirty and things, and they're not dirty, but residue-free shampoos don't really have a smell to them, because smells are residues. So you can make a easy spray, and then when they smell them they go, oh, they're not dirty, they're actually just, you know, knotted hairs. That sums up everything I have to say about preparing for dreadlocks. You can move on from here to the different dreadlocks starting methods video. Again, it's linked down there, or you can click up here for it. You can find all this information written up on lazydreads.com. You just go to lazydreads.com, and then on the sidebar you'll find a link for pre-dreadlocks information, or maybe it's on that side, I'm not entirely sure. It's on the right hand side. And you can go for preparing for dreadlocks, and everything that I've spoken about here is written up. If you like this video, if you found it helpful, please click the thumbs up. If you want to see more from me, dreadlocks related, subscribe. If you have any questions, comments, queries, you just leave them down here in the comments box and I'll get you straight back to you. You can find me on Twitter, where you can also ask me questions at any time, and I will get back to you even faster, and that's at lazy_dreads. And you can join in on Facebook, which is facebook.com/lazydreads. Thank you for watching. Hope I helped you out. Bye.